Hello everyone. Hi, this is Neeraj here, and a very warm welcome to everyone. Today we are going to discuss the occasion is Women's History Month, and once again I would be inviting Dr. Abhishek Subhash. So just let me give him the invite. Session with Abhishek, and our reasons for observing these various months. That Hey, hi Abhishek, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Good
I
evening to everybody.
Hi, I'm doing great. So I just got started, Abhishek, and I maybe I mean we don't have really, this is not a formal chat as such, so there is no room for formalities and pleasantries. So why are we discussing Women's History Month?
Uh, a- as much as there are two men right now who are discussing about Women's History Month, so I would like to call that out. This is can be seen as virtue signaling or maybe tokenism. Um,
Isn't it though? Isn't this virtue signaling and tokenism?
Probably because we didn't care to invite a lady along with us, right?
Oh,
What did we do? Yeah,
yes,
we wanted to hog the
yes,
limelight, right?
absolutely.
Mhm. Sarcasm, by the way. So, at the outset, I want to just say that I'm a little ill, so I will apologize for any inconsistency with my intonation, with my voice, whatever. And I'm drinking hot water. So, okay. Women's History Month is very important. I think it was in the 1980 it was started, and it is being celebrated in the US, UK, Australia, and Canada. And I think in March 1987 was it formally made into a Women's History Month,
Hmm.
um, and to commemorate the International Women's Day. That's on March 8th. So, and I think it has received a lot of traction during Barack Obama's tenure as the president, and I think Michelle Obama was very vocal about women's rights, women's issues, and especially Women's History Month. So, I think that's how the Women's History Month started.
And
Why is it in?
yeah, I'm sorry to be talking over you, but I was also wondering that because it is celebrated and observed, especially in the countries that you have just mentioned, why two men from India should be talking about Women's History Month? I just don't understand.
Uh, well, two men from India are talking about Women's History Month because I think we are also probably a part of the virtue signaling. I don't know that others have to tell us that. But I think what we are trying to do is it's Women's History Month is not just restricted to these so-called first world countries. But I think when people, like when we speak, being in India, when we are talking about a Women's History Month, or people from some other Asian country or some other Caribbean country are going to talk about Women's History Month, I think it just broadens the scope of the Women's History Month. That it's not just restricted to the women's history from these four countries, but women's history is global. It's for everybody. It's for every country. It's for every individual. And the race or the ethnicity doesn't really matter. So I think when we are doing this, it's giving impetus to the fact that Women's History Month is also about the women's history from India, from Asia, from all over the place. So yeah.
And for all we know, probably this could be one of the last years that it could be observed in the country like the USA, if you know what I'm trying to say. And
Oh,
maybe so,
absolutely.
and so maybe we should be, providing safe space to women,
Safe
right? To men,
space.
definitely,
Mhm.
right. Okay, but on a serious note, there is so much to unravel actually when we talk about women's literature, and we talk about Women's History Month, and there are so many different themes that are observed. So, is there any particular? I know that there is one particular theme that you shared this year. That this the theme this year is uh, growing together.
Yes, growing
Eh,
together.
right. All right.
So I think the theme, though there are various themes since the launch, since it was conceptualized, but growing together, I think it's a good theme because we all should grow together.
Mm-hmm.
Women's History Month, I think, but men should be a part of the Women's History Month. Men should be on the front row seats for these kind of things so that they are educated about Women's History Month, women's history, women's contribution, hence, uh, and I think they are the one who need to know because the women are doing the work and they are probably not even asking for credit, but the men they don't do the work and they take all the credit. So like us,
But yeah, but this is slightly contradictory also, right? I mean, where is Men's History Month?
of course, Men's History Month is every day. Men's History Month is every day actually. So yeah, but I'm sure one Women's History Month is threatening the entire masculinity globally.
Oh wow. Talking about masculinity and all of those things, there are so many things. And I remember we were discussing about a particular author. So before we dive deep into literature as such, I was interested in knowing because I know for sure that so when people pick up women's books written by women and so much of contribution that women have had throughout the history, they are not just contributing in the field of literature but also in the film of in the realm of filmmaking and in science and all the STEM and all of those various things. I was curious to know that when did you realize that it's very important to make these conscious decisions, and who was that one woman author that you started? I know it's a very difficult question because it's difficult to pick one, but who was it one woman author that you would say that, okay, this is where you started consciously reading about narratives by women?
I think I have the I started my reading journey very late in my life,
Okay.
but the one woman, or she's also written a couple of books, but the one woman who I ardently followed for her book club and for who she is Oprah.
Oh,
And
okay.
when when I started the journey, it was like it was her book that I started with, an American Marriage. It was one of her book club picks, and it was by Tyree Jones. And that's when I started. That was the first book. That was I started my journey with that, and it was a woman writer. And since then, I think I don't know because I've been following Oprah or through her work, and and she has always championed for women's rights, for Black women's rights. So I think I have somehow gone into that direction, and I've read so many women writers now. If I think about it, so that is something I will definitely credit. And the one person who again changed the entire perspective for me was Bernardine Evaristo
Oh,
with Girl, Woman, Other. I think that is a book that should be read by everybody because it is such, it is a Bible on feminism, it's a Bible on intersectionality and talks about ageism, race, gender, sexuality, uh, disability, so many things. And under the umbrella term of feminism, which is so spectacular, uh, and so that when I read Bernardine Evaristo is when I thought, oh my God, this is a different voice, and I was intrigued to go searching for these voices. What about you, Neeraj?
oh, that again, I think I thought that I would get away with the question and won't have to answer it myself. And when I think about it, I definitely want to start with the Nobel Prize winners and Booker Prize winners. But one author that definitely is, I think, in at least in my mind, above all of these things is Margaret Atwood. And we all have read 1984 by George Orwell. But when I came across The Handmaid's Tale, when it was recommended to me, for a very long time, I did not have the courage to pick it up and start reading. Yes, so before that, I have read my fair share of, women, which is like Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, or is it Sense and Sensibility, or it is, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, so on and so forth. But this was a radical shift in my reading journey, if I can say that. And I don't know whether this has happened with you or not, but 2016 in particular was, I remember very distinctly, was a year where I had this political awakening
Mm,
of sorts, right? When I started uh, paying attention to the politics of language and politics in general. And after that, we have had so many national and international events where, anything and everything has to be seen from a political perspective, but also very important to see from a feminine perspective. And Margaret Atwood herself says that she was inspired by 1984 by George Orwell, but she took it, and the way she describes when autonomy and agency is taken away from one
mm,
half of the population,
mm.
what exactly happens and what society can basically become. So I think it's kind of a very obvious and a cliched answer to say Margaret Atwood, but in my case, that has really been the case. I started with Margaret Atwood because I read it very consciously. I knew that I was being educated. I knew that I was being shown the world, not just in a didactic manner. I was just shown the world. Although a lot of people would say that Margaret Atwood's brand of feminism probably could be a little didactic in some ways, but I think that's a very good place to begin with.
And from Margaret Atwood, where did you go?
Oh, so from Margaret Atwood, thanks to you, I recently read Brotherless Night,
Oh, wow.
yeah, by V.V. Ganesh Anantham. And what can I say about this? Because for me, I know I'm digressing a bit, but I remember that people do say when you pick up a particular author, they say, oh, but what was she even trying to say? She was all over the place. The narrative was so non-linear. It was such a messy narrative. And what was it? One thing that the author was trying to say. So I did not like this. But when I started reading Brotherless Night, and it's, I mean, for all the people who are wondering, so it won the 2024 Women's Prize for fiction. Uh, and it's kind of an insider account of the Sri Lankan Civil War, and it is narrated from the perspective of a woman, and how a woman basically who is inside all of these things. So she's so from the inside she's looking out, and how her world completely changes, and what basically happens. And so I don't want to dwell much into the story. So yes, from Margaret Atwood to Brotherless Night by V.V. Ganesh Anthanam is something I would say something that has really opened my eyes, and I do apologize for the mispronunciation because it's just a psychological barrier that I have, that I cannot pronounce it correctly. It has been uh, a lesson in compassion
Mm.
and humility also, because so many dark things happen, and that is one of the remarkable things that I've noticed. So, thank you so much for once again recommending that. After an African history of Africa, this, I think this is one of the second books that has really left an indelible mark on me, and probably this is going to be one of my favorite reads of the year.
I'd rather thank V.V. Ganesh Ananthan for writing that spectacular story of Shashi, who is in the middle of the Sri Lankan Civil War, and it's speaking about the Tamils in Jaffna, whose account we've never heard. So yeah, so from Margaret Atwood to Sri Lanka, so that's quite a journey. So um, but you're a teacher.
Yes.
So why do you think women's literature is important for students, and how do you tell them about
Yeah.
it?
Wow, that's really an interesting question, and I don't know whether I'll be able to do justice to the question. But I think here is an incident that comes to my mind. I teach English language, right, for people who are preparing for various competitive examinations, and we have a section called as reading comprehension. And I remember in one of the classes quite recently, I did ask my students to go through the 5 or 6 odd passages that they had in the sheet, and I asked them which passage would they not want to discuss, or would they not want me to explain. And they started scanning through the various passages, and overwhelmingly there was this passage on feminism, and they said, "Sir, could we not discuss feminism because?"
Oh,
And this came as a surprise. Like I did not understand why would they say let's not discuss feminism, and I try to understand from my student, especially the young men that I also teach, and I'm like, why do you not want to pick up this particular passage? And they said, oh, I mean, the class was going on in a very the mood was very happy, so why do you want to disrupt the mood,
mm,
and why do we want to talk about feminism and all
mm,
of those disturbing things? Why can't we just simply read a linear narrative? So that's one thing that struck me. And after that, and even before that, I kind of resolved to maybe talk about women's literature in my class whenever I'm conducting developing reading habits. And
mm,
in one of the other incidences, if I can narrate that, I
mm-hmm,
mean, uh, I basically was talking about the content of the book,
mm-hmm,
and I deliberately withheld the name of the author from them. All
mm-hmm,
right, so I don't know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing, and you tell me whether I did the right thing or not. But was trying to focus on the content and the merit of the content, whatever
mm-hmm,
that means, right?
mm,
And I told them, okay, look at this, and this is so
mm,
interesting, and it is narrated in such a beautiful way.
mm-hmm,
And when I then told them the name of the author, the gender of the author was also revealed. I saw one of the young men in my class just simply put down the pen or the pencil, and they just, after that, just simply stopped listening to me. It was as if everything that I had said so far had been dismissed. And that was, I think, as close as I can get to be
mm,
dismissed for whatever I am
mm,
doing. I can
mm.
only imagine what it must be for women.
So this is I'm surprised and still not surprised that there is this blatant chauvinism and misogyny at display. But well, what can men do other than that? So it's like that. But yes, you're talking about the merit. You didn't, you withheld the name, and till the time you didn't reveal the name of the author, everybody was like, wow, great. But I also think that this is somehow playing to the gallery. We are appeasing the male gender, which is what the society at large is forever doing. Everything that is being done is to appease the male gender, to keep them comfortable, to see that their feathers are not ruffled, and to see that they are happy. So, and women's meritocracy, women's contributions, women's everything, and in this case, women's literature has also slipped under the radar, and we don't talk about it because we are forever trying to appease the men, the men's literature. If we talk about women's literature, it's somehow like the men's literature is being burnt somewhere or they are disappearing somewhere, you know? And uh, so I think we shouldn't be we should
Oh.
we should we should be advocating. We should be saying for what it is. If it's a women writer, it's a women's writer. Now if somebody else is comfortable, I think they need to check in with their uncomfortability, probably their prejudice, their chauvinism, their misogyny. And I don't think it is our duty to appease it,
Hmm.
because for
So if
for
yeah,
thousands of years this
this
has been going on.
has been
So
going on. Yes, I totally agree with you. So uh, uh, In the field of medicine also, you are a doctor. Do you, when you are consulting, would you, like, have you come across any such thing where probably you also felt that, okay, it's not just in the literature, or it's something which is misogyny is something which is not just in the books or the characters, or these women are deliberately talking about misogyny and all of those things, but in your profession also, have you had such experiences?
Oh, plenty.
Okay.
First of all, I think all our textbooks, all our medical textbooks have been written by white dudes.
Oh, okay.
Even gynecology, white dudes.
Wow.
All the clinical research is now changing in the past, I think, a couple of years. Otherwise, all the clinical trials, everything is based out for coming out of what was done for men. If it's good for men, who cares whether it's bad for anybody else? So, and when I consult, and if it's a woman who is telling her problems, if she's accompanied by a male counterpart, it is always, till today, it so happens that I have to stop the guy from, okay, this is her problem, this is her story, please let her say. You don't have to say it. It is not your problem.
Even
And
at the doctor's clinic.
yes, and they
Oh,
feel so angry when I tell them that. They feel so angry when I tell them that. So that is a control that is still being seen. And you know what? Women's literature, when I read more and more of women's literature, women writing, thing that has helped me understand and develop is the ability and the necessity to listen to them in their own words, and not through the words of somebody else, especially a man who is going to minimize it or dismiss it. So, and that is what happens when men write about women's problems. They are either dismissal about it, or they think it is trivial, or they minimize it. So, yeah, so this has been my effort to, at least inside my cabin, to let the women have the agency to talk about their problem. It is their problem at the end of the day.
wow, that those are such powerful words, because to have the agency is so liberating. Also, because of course it is her problem, and she should be able to speak about what her pain is, and should not be mansplained by whoever is accompanying. And you I think have opened a Pandora's box also here. In many of the discussions, in book club discussions and all of those things, I've observed one phenomena where there is this there are two questions that come to my mind right now. The first question is about who gets to write home.
Hmm.
All right, so I think I'm going to deliberately ask a prodding question to you. It is an unfair question. So, do you think that women are good at writing men characters, or men are good at writing women characters? I just would deliberately wanted to ask you this question.
Okay. Women are writing all 100% better at writing characters, be it women, be it men, be it any human being for that matter, because I think when women write, they write with sensitivity, they write with compassion, they write because they want to highlight, they want to portray, they want to give a voice. They want to probably find a solution. If not, at least let the world know that this is the thing, this is the issue, and this is the person who needs the voice. When men write, majority of them, I would not say all of them, but when men write, again, I'm not going to appease. If somebody is going to get hurt by this, so be it. But when men write, they are writing for sensationalism most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
They are writing to elevate their status more than elevating the person whom they are writing about. So it's ironically whatever they are doing is ultimately going to help them. It's not going to help the person that they are writing about or the people that they are writing about. So I think there is this vast difference in when men write and when women write. Women, when they write with heart. That's when opera speaks, she speaks from her heart, and you can see it. That passion is there, and that's what women's literature is. It's full of passion. It's full of nuance which is always missed, I think, in the majority of men's literature. So women always write better. Men, okay. Mm.
Okay, I really like how you did not mince your words and you are very, very clear about it, because I'm sure there would be many people out there who would very strongly disagree. They would say that literature is literature, and if a book works for you, a book works for you. Why do you have to bring gender and race and all of those things all the time? Like, why are you reading queer literature? Why are you reading women's literature? Why can't you just call literature literature? Why do you have to categorize it? And I think this is the answer, right?
And the people who are generally making these comments, they are the people who are sitting in the position of
Hmm.
privilege.
So men.
Especially, always, if you see, they're the people who have a problem with all of this. Why are you talking about women's literature? Why are you talking about African literature? Why are you talking about queer literature? These are the people, men, cis men. They have a problem with everything. If it is not about them, they have a problem with it.
Mhm.
And it's like you're the most privileged people in the on the planet right now. You have everything going for you. There is nobody that is opposing you. But still, if somebody else is talking, suddenly their masculinity is so threatened, and they want to shut it down. They want to belittle somebody. They want to be condescending about it. So yeah, so that is what I will have to say.
Wow, okay. Which also brings me to the next thing that was going through my head was also when so you know that I've been reading a lot about, so I have read my fair share of I don't know whether you can see, but there is like a
Yes.
full stack of, because I wanted to sound pretentious as well. No, on a serious note, um, this year I picked up Raymond Chandler, who wrote in the 1930s, and yes, obviously I liked the thriller and the pot boilers that he wrote, and he basically wrote about Italian mafia and all of the violence and everything. And it was the book was called as The Big Sleep. So he was a precursor to a lot of noir films in Bollywood in Hollywood as well, I should say. And last year I've been talking about Night Crawling by Leila Motley. Now
Mm,
these are so in my mind, I absolutely could see what you were saying, because Raymond Chandler is right up there, absolutely privileged, and when he's uh, capturing the lingo, capturing the dialogue, capturing the language of the Italian
mm,
people and all of those
mm,
people in America at that particular point of time. He's elevated, he's
mm,
experimenting with the language, and he's basically contributing to the grammar, contributing, and he's really applauded for. But when Leila Motley, who is an African American woman, and she's writing and she's experimenting with the language, because she's now trying to capture the language of how people, the real people, speak. She's being called out. She's being uh, ridiculed for bending the rules of grammar, whatever these rules are.
mm,
And some of the reviewers, I remember distinctly saying that, okay, this is bastardization of the language
mm,
also. Like, by what right
mm,
is she doing this?
mm,
This is not grammatically correct.
mm,
So you see, there is this very clear
mm,
treatment,
mm.
different rules for different people.
Yes. So I think that, of course, there is this different rule for different people, and Leila Motley's Night Crawling remains one of the stellar books. Um, and this is what happens. I think back here also, if I were to talk about it, Shobha, though her books are not the best, but even she started this about English writing, where there was a lot of Hindi words and
Right,
there was English,
right.
and when she did it, there were a lot of, they were also said this was this bastardization of the English language.
English language.
But if that was to be done by a male writer, I'm sure they would have thought, oh my God, this is a different, brand new language in itself, wow. But this is what happens. Women's contributions, I think women write so distinctly. There is so much of so distinctly that the men are not able to match it. Like when Anna Burns writes in Milkman, or when Olga Tokarczuk writes in all of her books, but the one that I read was Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. When they write, it's like you have not read anything like that. It's like that. And I think that is the beauty of women's literature. Even if they're not probably trying to change the words or bring in new words or introduce their own vocabulary, they are still introducing us to a brand new writing, brand new way to write, brand new way to express, which is so beautiful.
and should be spoken about at great length, and not just the contribution of women in the field of literature, but in fact everywhere. I remember having read the book Her Space and Her Time, Her Space and
Mm,
Her Time by Shivini Ghosh, and that was such a revelation, right from the discovery of the Big Bang, right,
mm,
to the quantum mechanics and everything. Women have contributed,
mm.
not just contributed, they were the main contributors basically.
Yes,
They wrote a lot of theses, and what did the men do? They just took the thesis and ran away with it. And when it came
yes.
to Nobel Prizes, forget about acknowledging. They did not even think twice before stealing the thesis, and that was such a great experience. I would say. So, what are other books? I know that you have read a lot of women authors, right? So, what are other books would you like to also talk to us about?
So as much as I think women's literature should be read, and I think we should, I also feel like it just shouldn't be restricted to white women authors. We should
Oh,
try
that was my
to.
actually question. I forgot. Right.
Mm,
So, thank you for pointing it out. My question actually was, which I had written it down, and I wanted to ask you: do you think women's literature is still very white?
I think so. Yes, I think
Okay.
literature in general is very white. Um,
Yes.
it has always been. Let's try, and in India, it literature is upper caste.
Okay.
So, so there has to be a paradigm shift if we want to do something about it. So the fact that if somebody is not going is to if you have not read black women or black literature, black women writers, queer women writers, or Arab women writers, or anything like that, other than that is not white. I think that is it's just that you're too lazy.
Oh, okay.
You have not done the research, you have not found out there are amazing people out there who are writing much better than the white people. So I think women's literature is still very white centric. Um, it's always the American writers and the UK writers. You see all the awards, everything, it's always centered around European and American only. Um, and I think that's why there has to be a conscious effort if we are a part of, if we are a literary citizen. It should,
Oh, I
yes,
like that term. What was that? Literary citizen.
citizen, yes. We need to be making, trying to make a change, and we can only make a change when we start it with ourselves. So try to include people who are not white, who are not from the European or the American, who are not European or American writers. And I would like to highlight my favorite author of the moment right now, and I think I've spoken endlessly to you about it, Han Kang.
Ah, the
Han
Nobel
Kang's
laureate.
the Nobel laureate Han Kang, also the Booker Prize winner Han Kang. She's the booming voice right now for Korean literature. Her brand new book, We Do Not Part, uh, is is should be on everybody's TBR. Everybody should be reading it. I think just for the fact that how she owns the narrative, how she's taken literature to a brand new level. This is the bar. She set the bar very high right now. If you read We Do Not, but she set the bar very high. This is next level writing, and how she has taken charge of the Korean history. You know what? No, you're not going to say it. This is my history. I will say it. And I think this is what she has done with her previous books also. But in this, she is fierce, unapologetic, and very demanding. And yes, hand can I can't stop talking about hand can. I can stop for an go on for an hour. So before I keep talking, I think what other women writers are you excited about or
Oh,
you
there
read?
there are so many that come to my mind, and therefore, because I knew that I would keep on forgetting, so I would just be quickly looking at the books that I have. So, of course, Marjan Kamali, the two wonderful
Yes.
books that she wrote, and we got to know the inside story of what was happening in
Iran.
Iran. So, the
Yes.
Stationery Shop of Tehran and the Line Women of Tehran. It's just and Line Women of Tehran. I remember on one particular page, my entire world literally went dark because of how compassionately she described the pain of one of the characters. It was really heartbreaking. So obviously she comes to my mind, and there is there are two Nobel laureates. Of course, Kairos.
Of
Yeah. Oh my
course.
goodness,
Of
Kairos. It was
course.
like. The symbolism, the history, and the language, and the music, and I just don't know where to begin talking about Kairos.
I cannot. It's art. Kairos is art.
Wow, wonderfully said. So that's and definitely we have Elif Shafak,
Hmm.
who has been, uh, I would say, has when it comes to language, I was very struck by some of the vocabulary words she uses. So one of her favorite words is also displacement. So she
Hmm.
says whenever people move from one country to the other country, they are just not uprooted. The word is displacement, and she says that
Yes.
English cannot come any close to capturing the essence, right? And before I go ahead, I want to give shout out to all the people who are listening.
Yes.
Yeah, especially Deval. And thank you so
Thank you.
much. Very kind of you to join. And I would encourage whoever is listening, if you have any recommendations or if you want to ask any questions to us, feel free to ask this question, and I can go on and on. I also wanted to talk to you about the very idea and the concept of women, because I read the name of the author, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and Purple Hibiscus, Half of a Yellow Sun, and Americana, and now her latest book, which is
Dream count.
Dream Count, which is long listed for Women's Prize for Fiction. But there is this, controversy surrounding Chimamanda Adichie as well. So, what is your take on this entire thing? And basically, uh, here is my like a very naive and a very ignorant question, and the question is, many people start their discussion of feminism with trying to define what a woman is. So, do you think it is necessary, and what exactly is all of this controversy about?
I think, first of all, two men trying to say it itself is wrong on many levels,
Yeah,
but
it's
we are
highly
going to
ironical.
park, yeah, we are going to park that aside at the moment. And as compassionate and as respectful that I want to sound about this. So who gets to call themselves women? I think the person who is there, the individual gets to decide whether they are a woman or not,
Yeah.
and that's the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Chimamanda has made some controversial statements about trans people, trans women, I guess, and so I haven't read Chimamanda. At the same time, I think what is now is a fact, and which lot of people are not ready to accept is trans women are women.
Hmm.
And there was also this controversy, hence, when Tori Peters was nominated for Women's Prize for Fiction
Oh
for
yes,
Transition Baby, if you remember that.
yes,
And
and it was redacted then, if I remember.
yeah, there's so much of noise over all this. Um, and so much of noise about Tori Peters. Tori Peters is a trans woman who's written about her trans experience. And um, but I think who gets to call a woman as a woman is a person. Is the person gets to identify themselves as a woman or not. And for the I think there is this absolute transphobic person, J.K. Rowling, out there. I don't want to give any more airtime for
Mm-hmm.
Rowling, but I think she has made this whole thing so much bad for everybody with her vitriol and with her acerbic tweets. Uh, that it's high time that she gets cancelled. But anyways, that's for another time.
Oh, interesting. So because I remember the controversy surrounding the women's prize for fiction when especially detransition baby came out, and I remember the first 40 pages. The narration was so confusing, and it was I think that I was not able to understand or find any entry into the story, and I kept on thinking like maybe these prices were actually right. And then after the 40th or the 45th page,
Mm,
the penny suddenly dropped that is consciously the stylistic decision the author had taken. So they had consciously tried it to be deliberately difficult
mm,
because that is the experience that they wanted all of us to understand, because they were again reporting, they were narrating the story from the inside.
from the inside.
And yes, and it was it came in all of its all possible shades and dimensions, because it is detransition. So there is a person who is
Mm,
transitioned and then they are now detransitioning, right? And what all the medical side effects it can have, and how the story is just very gloriously narrated. And I'm absolutely sure that as a person, as a man who is just observing the story as a third person narrator, I don't think so they would have been able to capture, or they would have been able to do any justice to it. Uh,
Absolutely not, and it is not even their place to write that
it's not
story, actually.
that place.
And just to take a moment, Tori Peters come out with their new book, Stag Dance.
Oh,
And I think if anybody has liked the transition baby, they should pick up this book as well.
so
So,
one more recommendation for all of you. And Deval, thank you so much for the question. You say do talk about female
female
poets.
poets.
Yes, two of the words that I have absolutely no authority on, which is female and poets. One, poetry, because I cannot pretend to understand poetry. I have tried to read poetry and I am just completely lost. Although, ironically, I do write poetry, which is a very different thing to say. But apart from Emily Dickinson, I don't think so. I've read any women poets at all, and Rochelle Potker from India. Because
Yes.
I was I did interview and interact with her. Apart from that, I am really sorry to inform that I've really not picked up any poetry. So maybe I should add that. And Deval, if you want, you can recommend.
Yes, so they were also women poets. It's not actually a poetry book, but then I have read these two books from Northeast. They are
Oh,
called The Many That I Am from Nagaland. It's an anthology of stories and poems,
wow.
and one is from Manipur, that is crafting the word. Now, the beauty is this is they are anthologies, some 20-25 essays and poems, and all women writers from, I think, Manipur. The book from Manipur is from 1948 onwards, from Binodini,
Wow.
who's like pre-independence era to the contemporary. So all women writers and poets, and I think there are some incredible poems in that. Lot of poems actually in the Nagaland book. There are a lot of poems, more than essays that were poems actually. So the I would highly recommend somebody if they are looking for poems. Why not look at some northeastern poems by northeastern poets? This is from Nagaland and Manipur, and I think this publication house also has books from Arunachal Pradesh and uh, I think one more state. I'm not able to recall right now, but yeah,
But of course, goes without saying that none of this is mainstream, and
none of
therefore,
this is mainstream. None of this is mainstream,
yeah.
of course.
So hence, I mean, obviously, people would say that okay, not accessible, we are not able to understand, and this thing, right? When it comes to the difficulty of the language and convoluted way in which the thing is narrated, and we have spoken about Brotherless Night from Sri Lanka. Does anything else come to your mind from Sri Lanka itself, where about the similar incidents some male writers are writing, and I, for one, did not basically. Yes, we are going to list them like last time. Absolutely, they will rest assured. So, would you say that who writes the story? Obviously, it's very important, and for a lot of people, well, you spoken about the controversy surrounding some authors, making some comments. Some people might say that I'm able to keep the art from the artist, and I think that is a whole different discussion that would take another 2 hours to unravel and even begin to understand. Have you had any such experiences where you picked up the book because it was doing rounds in literary circles, but you felt like you actually cannot understand?
It has happened with uh, a Sri Lankan male author,
Mm-hmm.
A Passage North,
Oh, okay.
Aruk. Uh,
Arun
uh,
Pragrasam is, I
yes,
think, is the name.
I'm not
Okay.
going to try to
Alright.
pronounce, but that's my bad. The Passage North, which was, I think, Booker Prize nominated and all,
Right.
I couldn't understand the point of the whole
Right.
exercise. And very convoluted, very, very convoluted. But I think, I don't know, the book received a lot of traction. Everybody spoke endlessly about it. Why was it? I don't know, because probably it was a male writer. That's what I can attribute it to. Um, and again, talking about Sri Lanka only, the Seven Moons of Mali Almeida by
Yes.
Shihan Karunatilaka.
Yeah.
Now, Shihan has written a beautiful book. There's no two ways about
Hmm.
it. And he has given a very impartial view on the entire war that was there in Sri Lanka, and he has not taken anybody's side. But I also felt now after Shihan Karunatilaka, when I read V.V. Ganesh Anantan's Brotherless Night, I felt Shihan Karunatilaka was just being very safe.
Hmm.
He was barely scratching the surface
Hmm.
of the whole problem. And here, when V.V. Ganesh Anantan wrote it, she got into the depth of the matter. She literally put us in that war zone. As a reader, I was felt like, okay, I am in that zone, and that's and saying, giving this example is what I want to extrapolate and say that this is how women writers write. They write so passionately that there is a stellar difference. Our about the same thing, but there's a stellar difference when a man writes and when a woman writes. There's so much of passion, there is so much of sensitivity, which is, I think, grossly missing at times.
I completely agree because I've read both of these books that you have mentioned, and I would say that in case of Brotherless Night, I think I was constantly in head of the main character Shashi, and I was being just dragged through the entire battlefields. I was forced to, and I was like, okay, sit and watch with me what is happening, and
Mm.
it was as if it is happening right here, right now with me, and she did not resort to magical realism which
Oh yes,
which
of course.
looms very
Mm.
large. I mean, of course, it is a stylistic choice. I am not denying that
Mm.
Seven Moons of Mani
Correct.
Almeida did not. Absolutely, it's a fabulous book in its own right. But this is how as real as it can get.
Yes, yes. And how are, if I have to ask you, what do you think is what sets women's literature apart from when men write?
Well, I think, like you've already pointed out, I can probably think from a critical reasoning perspective, right? Because in the science also, when we are trying to take decision, we do not generally look at only black and white. We do not
Mm.
only look at polar opposites, but we look at everything which is on the spectrum, right? And this is one of the things that I got to learn when I picked up these women writers. And one incident, once again, from my classroom comes to my mind. I had recommended Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf uh, to my students, and of course, I mean, a girl student picked it up, but boys were not interested. And in like 4 months down the line, when we were discussing about a particular bias of the author, and I kept on asking, do you see any bias of the author in this particular reading comprehension passage? This student of mine was, it took her seconds to point out, which everyone else was completely baffled, and I was very surprised. I said, how were you able to pinpoint this was the blind spot and these were the invalid assumptions made by the author? And she said that, sir, it is because of the book A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I've just picked up one book, and it has opened up my
Mm.
critical analysis
Mm.
skills, right? So it's not just about women's history, and it's not just about, there is an inherent, of course, I mean, it goes without saying, there is an inherent merit in reading such, because the language and the politics of the language changes. I mean, there's an ocean of difference you can find.
Absolutely true. And I think if one book can make a difference, imagine if everybody were to read more and more women's literature, the world will be such a beautiful place
Beautiful place
from the monstrosity that it is right now.
right now.
And at this moment, I would like to also highlight, like, there are amazing some Palestinian women authors. Adania Shibli, if anybody wants to pick, was also Booker Prize nominated. And Susan Abul Hawa, who's Against the Loveless World, is one of the most popular books out there. Uh, as a Palestinian woman, the struggles of the Palestinian people, I think it's been written heartbreakingly. It's heartbreaking, but written so beautifully. And if I have to also make a mention of an autistic woman writer, Victoria Lloyd Barlow, whose book All the Little Birds' Hearts. This is also a fantastic piece of literature, and the writer is autistic. Her main character in the book Sunday is autistic, and it's about a woman mother-daughter relationship, and the estrangement as it happens, and it couldn't have been written beautifully because the estrangement, you are witness to the estrangement. It is happening live in front of you in all those about 300 odd pages, and she hasn't shied away from portraying the main protagonist who is autistic, and the repetitiveness, uh, the giving an insider view to how it is to live like that, and then to deal with the emotional calamity. So one of the most brilliant books out there, and I think only a woman can write like that.
And going back to the thing that you previously said, that maybe we are doing a disservice when we are talking about the content of the book and really not calling out the name of the author. I think the lesson for me here as a teacher is the thing that I'm going to really take away and try to practice it is that just I keep on recommending women writers to my students, and I keep on talking about women writers, and I keep on talking about women writers, and I keep on talking about women writers. Probably one day they would understand, okay, I don't have to mince my words. I don't have to really praise the books to the skies, and I really don't have to talk about whether it is worth your time or whatever not. First, I should be seen, I think, reading a lot of women's literature, because I think if I think I'm in a position of privilege, and I think I'm in a position of, as a teacher, I'm saying, if I can make a difference, I think I can begin with such conscious choices. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it should be everybody's endeavor to make these conscious choices. Men more so than anybody else, because guess what? We are the ones who are causing all the problems because we are not ready to understand. We are not ready to listen to others' stories, others' perspectives, others' opinions. Because we are always sitting on a pedestal, or somebody has made us sit on a pedestal. So let us all try to climb down, and we are all equal. Everybody's voices should be heard. It shouldn't be one group's voice that should be heard, which is what is actually happening everywhere. But if we are a literary citizen, this is what we need to be advocating. This is what we should be trying to do. I'm not sure. I don't say that we are all going to be 100% successful. We are going to probably make mistakes, and that's okay. But let's accept, let's acknowledge that. Let's see, let's call ourselves out when we do that, and move on, move ahead. That's the problem with J.K. Rowling. People told that you're making a mistake, but she never understood that. That's the problem there. You can make a mistake, but then call yourself out, acknowledge it, and move on, and say that I won't do it again. But she's not ready to do it, and countless men out there who are already doing that. But yeah.
Yeah, but because I think we should again start maybe consciously using that I did not know and I want to do better.
Yeah.
I want to know better,
Yes.
right?
Do better, try better. And at this point, I also want to give shout out to another amazing woman writer, Florence Given, who's
Mm-hmm.
written amazing book. Her latest book is Women Living Deliciously. She basically writes for women only.
Wow,
So
lovely.
yeah, she's not mincing her words. She's not writing for anybody else. She's catering to her women audience.
Only.
And yes, and so brilliant. Such a breath of fresh air.
Yes. On that note, I also wanted to say that we are definitely going to have many, many more conversations. So we have seen March in Africa,
Mhm.
right? And now we are also talking about women's history. What is the next month going to be about? Would you like to talk about?
So the next month is Arab Lit April. That's the
Arab Lit
hashtag,
April. Okay.
wherein the Arabic literature or Arab authors are celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
So um, Arabic literature, most if you can read Arabic, great. Otherwise, in translation, and Arab authors. So that is what is the April month about, and I think that will be very interesting when we talk about a brand this part of the literary spectrum. Yes, and you also have some other exciting announcement for next month.
Yes, I do have. Thank you so much for asking me. So, at Reading Matters Book Club, you know that we try to do things a little creatively, a little differently. I don't know how different or creative this is going to sound, but instead of Book of the Month, we came up with an idea. The two of us came up with an idea that instead of Book of the Month, why don't we have Author of the Month?
Oh, wonderful! Isn't that unique?
It is. I would like to think that this is unique. Okay, and so the author that I had in my mind is the one that I read very recently, and I had written a review also about. So the name of the author is Natasha Brown. She is an upcoming literary
Awesome.
voice, and she has written two novels. One is the first one, her debut novel is called as Assembly, and the second one is called as Universality. Universality is a book that I actually listened to, and I was literally surprised by
Mm.
the clarity and the language and the purpose of writing the book also, because if you pick up these two books, so the why Natasha Brown, because I think she only has, so she's an upcoming author, she has only two books, so I'm sure we'll be able to read these two books, and
Mm.
both of these two novels are basically novellas, so they are not more than
Mm.
100 or 120 pages long. If you
Amazing.
look at the Audible, actually it's only 1 hour 58 minutes long. So I think in
Mm.
one sitting itself you can consume Assembly, and in the next on the next day you can read Universality, and maybe we can then have a conversation on the author of the month, Natasha Brown.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so, look how two men we came and decided author of the month. We didn't involve any women at all.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I mean, like in like just like the zero number of poets that I read,
Yes.
isn't it? That there would be like zero involvement of anyone else. No, nobody can tell us what to read.
Yeah.
This is
For
again
all,
sarcasm for all the people who are joining and listening to us. Um,
I
uh,
also want to make a
yeah,
quick shout
sure,
out to Ruchira
sure.
Gupta. Ruchira Gupta's book, I Kick and I Fly.
Wow.
Amazing activist, amazing book. So if you've not read Ruchira Gupta's this book, you'll be surprised, and it will be a heartbreaking read. But please do if you can read Ruchira Gupta. Yes,
Uh, I think it wouldn't be an exaggeration if we say that, okay, not just in the month of March or April, but maybe uh, one should read more and more and more, and probably only women's author. That would not be an exaggeration.
I will. I will. I think it's not an exaggeration. It's a necessity right now. We should be
Hmm.
doing that. We should be doing it. We should be. And thank you for saying that.
All
Yes.
right. So, on that note, I am so very excited to have the discussion on Arab literature with you, and I would encourage everyone to pick up Universality and Assembly by
Assembly.
Natasha Brown. These are two very crisp but very hard-hitting, power-packed novels that Natasha Brown has written, and uh, give it a read. And maybe in the next coming days, we'll be sharing the calendar with you when we are going to have a discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
It
we
was
didn't
very
take
sweet of you.
right. So on that note, I like to thank you, Abhishek, once again.
Thank you,
Every
Neeraj.
conversation, yeah, every conversation with you, honestly, I'm not just saying this for the sake of saying, but every conversation that I have with you is an education in itself. I get to learn so
Likewise.
many things from you. So thank you so much for that.
Yes.
And
Thank
I'll
you.
see you very soon. All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Good
Bye. Happy
night.
reading. Bye.
Bye.